Welcome back to the deep dive. It gets to about, 3 p.m. on a Friday?
Uh,
And someone always asks that question. Seems simple, but it's actually pretty big. What are you doing this weekend?
it really is the universal starter, isn't it?
Hmm.
But how you answer, well, that opens up a whole world. Psychology, grammar, even culture.
Absolutely. And that's our mission today. We want to go beyond just, listing things you might do.
Right.
We're aiming for a complete guide, like multiple levels. How to say your basic plans, sure, but also digging into why we even have weekends and what our choices say about us.
We should probably start with the basics, the language tools for planning. But let's think about it in terms of social commitment.
Okay.
Because the grammar you pick actually signals how definite your plans really are.
Right. Okay. So the main one people reach for is I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
I'm going to relax. I'm going to clean. I'm going to see a movie. It feels like the most useful default.
It is flexible, yeah. And it shows you've made a decision, you have an intention, but it's often, a plan you made yourself, or it's maybe a bit loose.
So what happens when it's more solid? Especially with other people involved.
Well, then we naturally tend to shift gears grammatically. We use the language of fixed arrangements,
Which is,
the present continuous,
Yep.
but for the future. So if you say, I'm going to meet my sister for lunch, okay, that sounds like an idea you have.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, I'm meeting my sister for lunch on Saturday, that ing form, it suggests it's in the diary, maybe the table's booked. It feels much more certain.
That's a really neat distinction. The grammar showing the social weight. Okay, so what about the other way? What if the plan is no plan?
Which is sometimes the best plan, right?
Definitely.
The natural way to say that is something like, no, not really.
Okay.
Followed by maybe, I think I'm just going to relax at home or take it easy. That not really is key. It politely signals you don't have fixed arrangements.
Okay, got it. Now let's move beyond just relaxing or seeing people. We need better words, right? Richer vocabulary for what we actually do.
Yes, definitely. If you want the conversation to be more interesting, the verbs need more detail. So if you're outdoorsy,
Don't just say, go for a walk.
exactly, say go for a hike if it's more challenging, or go cycling. And for social stuff, instead of just seeing friends,
You could say.
catch up with friends. That specifically means sharing news, finding out what everyone's been up to. It's more descriptive.
And if they're coming to your place.
Oh, the best one is have friends over.
Yeah, I like that one.
I'm having friends over for dinner. It's warm, it's clear, much nicer than just hosting.
Right. And what about actually making the plans with someone, not just reporting them?
Good point. Collaboration language, so for inviting.
You could go a bit formal. Would you like to join me?
Yeah, or more casual. Do you want to come along? Both work.
And if you're brainstorming ideas together,
Then you initiate. Ask something like, what shall we do this weekend? Or suggest something specific. How about we try that new restaurant? It makes it active, shared.
okay, so Friday planning happens, then Monday morning rolls around.
Yes, the debrief.
And the first question is always,
How was your weekend? And boom, instantly, different tense needed.
simple past.
Yeah,
Absolutely mandatory.
right. But let's skip the basic conjugation. Hopefully you know that. Let's focus on the keywords, the verbs that really unlock this conversation.
Okay. So if I'm describing my weekend, what are the absolute must-have past tense verbs?
Well, obviously went somewhere, maybe saw someone or something. You probably had a good time, hopefully. And you did something. Those four are crucial.
Went, saw, had, did. Makes sense. Any others you'd add?
I'd actually argue the fifth most important is slept.
Really?
What?
Slept. Why not? Like ate or read?
Because the whole point of the weekend, traditionally anyway, is recovery. Saying I slept until 10 isn't just an action. It's like a statement about prioritizing rest. It sets a whole mood.
Huh? Never thought of it like that. Went, saw, had, did, slept. Okay.
Get those five down confidently in the past tense, and you can tell pretty much any weekend story.
And once you have the actions, you need to tell it like a story, right? Not just a shopping list.
Exactly. Don't just list, I went shopping, I saw a movie, I had dinner. Build a narrative. Use those simple sequencing words.
Like,
First, we went for brunch. Then we saw the exhibition. After that, we just relaxed. Finally, we ordered pizza. It gives it structure, makes it easy to follow.
right, turns a list into an actual little story. Okay, let's elevate things again. Talking about the vibe of the weekend, beyond just good or bad.
Yes, we need better adjectives for the overall feel. So if it was really calm, chilled out, no stress,
We'd say
laid back, that word captures a specific kind of relaxed, informal ease.
laid back.
Yeah.
And the opposite, if it was just nonstop.
Then it was hectic, packed with activities, maybe a bit stressful, rushing around.
Hectic.
Yeah.
Okay. And that laid back feeling, the reason we often want it is about recovery, right? What's the language for that?
We use some great phrasal verbs linked to, well, just feeling better. You need to wind down.
Like gradually relax after being busy.
Exactly. And that brilliant idiom, to recharge your batteries.
Yeah, like your phone.
Precisely. It frames energy as something you need to deliberately restore. So a laid-back weekend helps you wind down and recharge. That's often the goal.
But plans aren't always definite, are they? Sometimes they depend on things, weather, how people feel.
Absolutely. So you need language to show that flexibility, that uncertainty. Instead of, I'm going to,
You'd use,
I'm thinking of going for a hike, or I might go for a hike. It softens it. Or you use that conditional structure.
the if structure.
Yeah, if the weather's nice, I'll go for a hike. All of these signals, you haven't made firm plans yet, leaves you room to adapt.
Okay, firm plans, that's a useful term. But what about when things go wrong? Or when you just ditch the plan altogether?
Right, reality happens. So if you have absolutely no plan and you're just deciding things as you go,
What's the idiom for that?
I'm just going to play it by ear.
Played by ear. Love that.
Or a similar idea is to go with the flow, just
Yeah.
accepting things as they happen. It's the total opposite of having a packed schedule.
Okay. Now, what if plans fail? I remember I had this whole weekend planned, visiting museums, and then my car broke down Saturday morning. Everything just stopped.
That's the perfect example of plans falling through. Something external happened, the car, the weather, and the plan collapsed.
Okay, fell through. Got it. How is that different from, say, canceling?
Good question. We used to call off when someone makes a decision to cancel, like the organizers called off the match because of the storm. It's an active cancellation. Fall through is more passive failure.
External cause versus internal decision. Useful. And for storytelling, sometimes the best bit is the unexpected turn. You planned one thing, did another.
Oh yeah, the twist. For that, the phrasal verb is to end up doing something.
End up doing.
Yeah. It instantly signals a contrast. We were planning a quiet night in, but we ended up going to that street party downtown. It highlights the spontaneity, the surprise.
Nice. And if we want to look back on a plan that didn't happen and sort of reflect on what might have been,
Now we're getting into advanced reflection. You need the third conditional.
the if would have structure.
Exactly. It's for talking about hypothetical past. So your hike didn't happen because of rain. You'd say, if the weather had been better, we would have gone for that hike.
Okay, that's powerful. It lets you talk about the reality and the alternative possibility all in one go.
Precisely. It's a really sophisticated tool for reflection.
And speaking of reflection, that structure, that ability to talk about what was and what could have been, it really leads us into our final section, the cultural deep dive. Let's sort of deconstruct the weekend itself.
Yes, because it's important to remember the 2-day weekend, it's not ancient history. It's actually pretty modern.
Right, it wasn't always Saturday and Sunday off.
Not at all. It really came out of the Industrial Revolution. It was designed basically to create some work-life balance, to draw a line between work time and personal time.
So, created for rest, for recovery from intense factory work back then, but that original idea feels like it's under pressure now, doesn't it?
Massively. There's this huge cultural tension today with what people call hustle culture.
Right, the idea that you should always be productive, always on.
Exactly. Hustle culture kind of implies that if you're resting, you're lazy, you're falling behind. So the weekend gets reframed as just more time to work on side projects, learn skills, get ahead.
So there's this clash. The need to rest versus the pressure to always be doing something productive.
A huge tension. It's so strong, in fact, that some places have brought in laws about it.
You mean the right to disconnect?
That's the one. It exists as law in some countries. It basically says employers can't demand you answer emails or calls outside working hours. It's trying to legally protect that personal time, push back against that always-on culture.
Wow. Okay, so that forces us to think more carefully about what free time even means. Are all types of non-work time the same?
No, definitely not. There are important distinctions. First, there's downtime.
Downtime. Just chilling out.
Essentially, yes. It's the absence of obligation. Time needed just to decompress mentally and physically, doing nothing much at all.
Okay. Then what's leisure?
Leisure is different. It's time spent on activities you choose because you enjoy them. Reading a book you love, playing sport, a hobby. There's an intentionality to leisure.
So downtime is passive recovery, leisure is active enjoyment.
Pretty much. And then there's a third one, which isn't great. Killing time.
Killing time. Sounds negative.
It usually is. It implies you're bored, just waiting for something else to happen, maybe avoiding doing something useful. Empty time.
Downtime, leisure, killing time. Okay, that makes sense. And this links back to that old saying, doesn't it? A change is as good as a rest.
Yes, that proverb is so relevant here. It suggests that recovery doesn't always mean doing nothing, especially if your work is, say, very mental.
Right. If you sit at a desk all week.
Then maybe the best rest is doing something totally different. Physical work, gardening, playing music. The change of activity itself is what recharges you, not just stopping.
So really, when someone asks that simple question on Friday, what are you doing this weekend? How you answer, what you plan, it's kind of a statement about your values.
It absolutely is.
Oh.
If you describe your plan for a quintessential lazy Sunday sleeping in, big breakfast, comfy clothes, no real plans.
You're valuing slowness, comfort, maybe simple pleasures.
Exactly. But compare that to the pressure some people feel to have an Instagrammable weekend.
Where everything has to look perfect for photos.
Right. Every brunch, every hike, every sunset has to be documented and shared. The focus shifts from actually enjoying the leisure to performing leisure for an audience, which can actually undermine the whole point of resting or enjoying yourself.
So the quiet weekend, the packed weekend, the productive weekend, the Instagram weekend, they all tell a different story about what we think is important.
Recovery, connection, achievement, image.
Yeah.
Your choices reflect your priorities.
Wow. Okay, so we went from I'm going to all the way through the grammar, the vocab, the idioms for plans going wrong.
Right up to the third conditional for reflection.
And then into hustle culture, the right to disconnect, downtime versus leisure. It's a lot packed into talking about just 2 days off.
It really is. But ultimately, how we use that weekend, that free time, it's like a canvas. And on that canvas, we paint a picture of what truly matters to us. The story of your weekend really is the story of your values.
So this coming Friday, when someone asks you about your plans, maybe think about the language you use, the story you're telling. Hopefully you can have some richer conversations now. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know that moment on Friday afternoon everyone starts asking?
Yes. The classic.
Exactly. What are you doing this weekend? It's probably the #1 friendly chat starter globally.
It really is. But it can also cause that little flicker of panic, can it? Especially on Monday morning when the question flips.
Totally. How was your weekend? Staring blankly. We've all been there. So today, this dive is all about cracking that code.
We're taking this everyday topic way beyond just the basics.
Yeah, we want to guide you from those essential phrases all the way up to, well, quite sophisticated, nuanced discussion.
It's like a complete journey, really, giving you the linguistic toolkit for planning, describing, and even analyzing your free time.
Think of it as a shortcut, maybe, to mastering a really critical social skill. You know, connecting with colleagues, friends, making small talk actually meaningful.
Our mission is to help you turn that weekend chat from just listing stuff into a real moment of connection, or even reflection.
Okay, let's start right there. Friday, 5 p.m. The question hits.
Right, the foundation for talking about the future, your plans. You'll mainly hear it 2 ways.
Which are?
What are you doing this weekend? That's the most direct one.
Okay.
Or maybe slightly more polite, slightly more tentative. Do you have any plans for the weekend?
Got it. So how do you answer? What's the core structure?
The workhorse here is going to. It's incredibly useful because it signals your intention.
So if I have a plan, even a vague one.
Use going to. Simple as that. I'm going to relax at home.
Or I'm going to visit my family.
Exactly. That I'm going to pattern, that's the bedrock. You just plug in the activity.
Like the common weekend things.
Yeah, the essentials. I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to go shopping. Maybe specify at the supermarket.
See a movie, have dinner with friends.
Right. Practical, clear stuff.
But hang on, what about, and this happens a lot, what if the plan is literally nothing? Just staying home? How do you say that naturally?
Good point. This is key for sounding, authentic. You don't just bluntly say nothing.
Right. That can sound a bit dismissive.
It can. So if you genuinely don't have anything specific lined up, you soften it. Use a negative modifier gently.
Oh.
You say something like, no, not really.
Not really. Okay.
Yeah, no, not really. I think I'm just going to stay home and relax, or take it easy. That not really shows you've thought about it, but nothing's concrete.
That makes sense. It's honest but polite.
Exactly. And those tools, going to, for plans, not really,
Yeah.
for no plans, that gives you a really strong foundation for any basic chat.
Yeah.
A solid A2B1 level.
Okay, foundation laid. But like you said, we want to move beyond basics. Real fluency means adding more color, right? More detail.
Precisely. We're moving beyond just listing I'm going to. We need richer ways to describe the type of activity, maybe the purpose.
So instead of just going for a walk,
Well, walking is fine for, around the block, but if it's a proper trek in nature, up hills,
you'd say.
to go for a hike, much more specific, or maybe to go cycling, or phrase it as go for a bike ride.
Okay, got it. And I think you mentioned moving from what to why, like with meeting friends.
Yes, exactly. You don't just see friends necessarily. If the purpose is sharing news, finding out what everyone's been up to,
Then you'd use,
to catch up with friends, it implies that specific social function, exchanging updates.
that's a great distinction. Catch up implies more depth than just a quick hello.
Definitely. It suggests dedicated time. Oh, and another useful one for social plans at home.
What's that?
To have friends over, meaning you're hosting them at your place.
Like we're having friends over for dinner or for a barbecue.
Exactly. It specifies the location is your home.
Okay, richer vocabulary. Now, what about grammar? You mentioned another future form.
Right. While going to is your all-purpose future. For plans that are really fixed, especially arrangements with other people, schedules, tickets,
Yes.
you sound much more natural using the present continuous tense. But talking about the future.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So, if you've agreed on a time and place with your sister, I'm meeting my sister for lunch on Saturday.
Okay, not I'm going to meet.
You could say going to meet, but I'm meeting sounds more definite, like it's already in the diary.
Or like flight tickets.
Perfect example. We're flying to Spain on Friday night. You've bought the tickets. It's arranged. Present continuous signals, that's certainty.
This is really useful stuff for sounding more fluent. And at this B1, B2 level, you probably start making plans with people too, right? Not just answering questions.
Absolutely. You need the language for inviting people.
How do you do that politely?
The standard polite phrase is, would you like to join me? Or join us.
And if it's more casual, like with a good friend,
You can use the phrasal verb. Do you want to come along? Much more informal.
come along. Okay. And if you're trying to decide together what to do,
Collaborative planning. Essential skill. You can ask, do you have any ideas for what we could do?
and then suggesting things.
Use we could. Like we could try that new cafe. Or how about we just order a takeaway?
Great tools. So that covers planning pretty well. Let's jump forward.
It's Monday morning. The coffee's brewing.
And the inevitable question arrives.
How was your weekend? Or maybe, did you have a good weekend?
And bam! The whole game changes, grammatically anyway.
How so?
You absolutely must switch to the simple past tense. You're recounting finished actions.
Right. All those evade endings for regular verbs.
But the tricky one,
The irregulars. Yeah. For weekend chat, you basically live and die by 4 key ones.
which are,
Went from go, saw from see, had from have, and did from do. You use these constantly when talking about your weekend.
I went shopping, I saw a film, I had dinner with friends, I didn't do much.
Exactly. You have to be comfortable with those past forms.
Okay, grammar sorted. But how do you start your answer? Not just, it was good.
Please, no, just start with a general vibe. Use a descriptive adjective first, then add details.
Right.
If it was quiet, maybe it was relaxing. I mostly stayed home.
Okay. And if it was crazy busy?
It was busy. We had loads going on. Or even, it was pretty hectic. We'll come back to that one.
And if something interesting or unexpected happened?
Use eventful. Like, oh, it was quite eventful, actually, let me tell you. Starting with that adjective sets the scene instantly.
Nice. And then when you tell the story, how do you keep it clear?
Structure is key. Use sequencing words. It guides the listener.
You mean like,
First, then after that, maybe just then, and finally.
so first I went for a run. After that, I met Sarah for coffee. Then we did some shopping. And finally, I just chilled out at home.
Perfect. Makes it super easy to follow the timeline.
And the absolute golden rule of Monday morning chat.
Don't be a conversation hog. After you've shared, you must pass it back.
How?
The simplest way. What about you? Or how about you? Maybe, how was yours?
Showing that reciprocal interest. It's crucial, isn't it?
Non-negotiable for politeness and good conversation.
Okay, moving up the levels now. C1 territory. We're going beyond just listing activities.
Yeah, now we're talking about the feeling, the overall vibe of the weekend, expressing nuance.
You mentioned relaxing and busy before. What are the more advanced ways to describe that contrast?
Two really useful concepts are laid back versus hectic.
Okay, tell me about laid back.
A laid back weekend implies it was relaxed, informal, calm, no stress, no major plans, just easygoing. It was a really laid back weekend, just what I needed.
Sounds ideal. And the opposite.
Hectic. This means very busy, full of activity, maybe a bit stressful or rushed.
Like your earlier example.
Exactly. We had a wedding Saturday, family lunch Sunday. It was totally hectic.
Yeah.
That one word paints a vivid picture of exhaustion.
Got it. And at this level, we also talk more about the purpose of rest, right?
Yes. Using more sophisticated language for recovery. Great phrasal verbs here.
Such as?
To gradually relax after a period of stress or work, you wind down. Like on a Friday evening, you need to wind down.
Okay, wind down. Makes sense. And the really common one for energy.
The battery metaphor, to recharge your batteries. Everyone understands this.
I spent Sunday just recharging my batteries before the week.
Exactly. It perfectly captures that feeling of needing to restore your energy levels.
Now, what about plans that aren't quite certain? We often have vague ideas for the weekend.
Right. Life happens. You need language for flexibility in conditions.
So instead of, I'm going to,
You could say, I'm thinking of. Like, I'm thinking of tidying the garden. Or use might. I might go for a hike.
but often those plans depend on something else, like the weather.
Crucial point. You add, depending on the weather. That condition is key. I might see my parents, depending on how I feel.
Depending on.
Yeah.
Very useful. And if plans are definite, is there a phrase for that?
Yeah, the collocation is firm plans.
So you could say, we don't have firm plans for Sunday yet.
Precisely. Or, our Saturday plans are pretty firm. And often, the bridge back to the work week, that Sunday evening activity,
What's that?
to get organized for the week. Making lunches, checking emails, mentally preparing.
Ah, yes. The Sunday scary's kicking in. Okay, let's push even further. C1, C2. When plans change or things don't go as expected.
Right. The messy reality of weekends. We need language for spontaneity versus sticking to a schedule.
What's the idiom for deciding as you go?
The classic is to play it by ear.
Love that one. What are you doing Saturday night? Oh, I don't know. Let's just play it by ear.
Exactly. No fixed plan, decide in the moment. Another similar phrase is to go with the flow.
Just be spontaneous. And the opposite of that.
Having a packed schedule, completely filled, no room to breathe.
Okay, now what if plans actually fail? They get canceled.
Important distinction here. Did it fail because of outside circumstances, or did someone decide to cancel it?
Right. What's the difference?
If it fails due to things you can't control, bad weather, car breaking down, venue closed, the plan fell through.
Our picnic plans fell through because of the rain.
Perfect. But if a person or organization actively cancels it,
Like the organizers canceling a match.
then they called it off. They called off the meeting. The match was called off. Someone made the decision.
Fell through versus called off. Got it. But my favorite phrase for unexpected turns.
Let me guess. End up doing something.
Yes, it's brilliant for storytelling. It highlights that contrast between the plan and what actually happened.
It really is. It signals a deviation from the original intention.
Like we were going to have a quiet night in.
But we ended up going out dancing until 3 a.m. It
Right.
captures that spontaneity or change of direction perfectly.
So good. And finally, for the real grammar nerds reflecting on the past, hypothetical situations.
The third conditional. Talking about how the past could have been different if something had changed. It shows real mastery.
So that hike that got rained out.
On Monday, you sigh and say, if the weather had been better, we would have gone for that hike. Imaginary past condition. Imaginary past result.
Or explaining why you missed an event.
If I hadn't been so tired, I would have come to the party.
Oh.
It expresses regret or explains absence by referencing a hypothetical past.
Powerful stuff. Okay, let's zoom out. All this language, from basic plans to complex reflections, what does it tell us about the weekend itself, culturally?
Well, it highlights that the weekend, Saturday and Sunday off, is actually a pretty modern idea.
Really? How so?
It evolved alongside industrialization. specifically to create a better work-life balance, a formal break from the demands of work.
But that balance feels, well, under threat sometimes now, doesn't it?
Massively. There's this huge tension between the need for rest and what people call hustle culture.
Right, that mindset that you should always be working, always be productive, even in your downtime. The pressure is immense.
It really is. And this leads to C2 level discussions about things like the right to disconnect.
Explain that.
It's the idea, becoming law in some places, that employees shouldn't be expected to answer work emails or calls outside of their official working hours, protecting that downtime.
A very relevant modern concept. And are there any idioms for when that balance goes wrong?
Oh, definitely. Classic ones. If someone is working ridiculously long hours, getting exhausted,
They're burning the candle at both ends. Suggests they're using up their energy from both sides, unsustainably.
and the really sad one you mentioned earlier about hating your job.
Yeah, to live for the weekend. It implies you basically endure Monday to Friday, just waiting for that escape. Your actual life only happens on Saturday and Sunday.
Wow. What a journey we've taken. Seriously, from just what are you doing
Yeah.
all the way to analyzing our entire relationship with work, rest, and modern culture.
It shows how much depth there is in seemingly simple conversation topics, doesn't it? You now have that full spectrum from basic plans to, articulating the deep psychology of your free time.
The fluency isn't just listing things, is it? It's about weaving your personal experience into that bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about analyzing how your need to, say, recharge your batteries bumps up against the pressures of always needing to be on, that hustle culture idea. You've got the language now.
Which brings us perfectly to our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. We talked about that pressure to be productive, the dangers of just living for the weekend. So think about your last weekend, or maybe the one coming up. Did it feel genuinely laid back? Or was it closer to hectic?
And maybe ask yourself, what tiny shift in your plans, your boundaries, your mindset could lead to a weekend that feels more truly fulfilling, more restorative for you?
Okay, let's unpack this. We are tackling probably the biggest conversational hurdle of the whole work week.
Yeah.
Monday morning.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you walk past the coffee station, maybe see a colleague, and then boom, that question hits you. How was your weekend?
And we've all done it, haven't we? You spend like 48 hours running around doing things, relaxing. Maybe there's even a little drama.
Right.
And yet Monday comes and the default answer is just, it was good or fine.
Yeah, fine.
And just like that conversation over, you've basically shut it down before it even had a chance to start.
That is exactly the trap we want to help you escape today. So our mission for this deep dive, it's pretty clear. We're aiming to give you, the listener, a really practical toolkit, something to move beyond that dead end, it was good, and actually build, an engaging, fluent response, something that keeps the social wheels turning. And this means really shifting how we think, moving from future plans, which we talk about a lot, to actually reflecting on past experiences. And that requires a fundamental change in the language we use.
And what's really interesting here, I think, is that this isn't just about ticking a grammar box. It's actually a critical social skill.
Totally.
If you can give a concise, kind of interesting summary of your weekend, you automatically create these little hooks, these openings for follow-up questions.
Right, gives them something to grab onto.
Exactly. That detail, those specifics, that's the real currency of connection in these small interactions.
Okay, so we get the why. It's about connecting. But we can't really get to those conversational hooks without the right language foundation. So let's talk grammar first.
Makes sense.
Since everything happened in the past over the weekend, we obviously need the past tense. And our focus today is squarely on the simple past.
Great. And for a lot of verbs, the ones we call regular verbs, this is thankfully the easy part. You basically just stick to "at" on the end. So if your goal was just, chilling out, to relax becomes "I relaxed at home." Simple. Or if you were catching up on movies, to watch becomes "I watched a documentary." Yeah. Those are the easy ones.
The easy ones. But naturally, English grammar loves to throw curveballs.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets, genuinely interesting. Irregular verbs.
Yes.
And it always seems to be the most common verbs, doesn't it? The ones we need constantly just to talk about basic life, they're the ones that just decide to ignore the rules completely.
It's almost a rule in itself. And the thing is, if you can just master a handful, maybe 4 or 5 key irregular forms, you basically unlock, I'd say, like 90% of your ability to describe a typical weekend.
Wow, okay. That's a big return.
Huge return on investment for just memorizing, really, 4 crucial words.
So why those 4 specific ones you mentioned: went, saw, had, and did? What makes them so much more important than, say, other irregulars? Is it just frequency? Like how often they pop up when people actually talk about weekends?
Precisely that. It's based on real usage. They cover the absolute fundamentals, movement, social stuff, activities, and just general action. You really can't tell a decent story about your weekend without them.
Okay.
So let's break it down. First, you need to go. That covers literally every time you left the house, right? Errands, outings, it becomes went.
Right. I went to the store, or we went for a hike. Got it.
Exactly. Second, to see. Absolutely fundamental for any social plans, meeting people, that changes to saw.
We saw our friends for dinner.
Okay, makes sense.
Third is to have. Now, this one is arguably one of the most common verbs in conversational English, period. We use it for meals, experiences, managing time. To have becomes had.
I had a great time, or we had a really busy afternoon. Yeah, okay.
And then finally, number 4.
Yeah.
To do. This is like the ultimate multi-purpose verb, the catch-all. It changes to did.
And that's key for asking the question back, right?
Right.
What did you do?
Yeah.
And also for describing specific things you accomplished. Precisely. I did some gardening, for example. So if we think about fluency, like the bigger picture, knowing went, saw, had, and did isn't just helpful, it's the absolute bedrock. If you stumble or hesitate on those 4, your whole story kind of falls apart. You really, really have to commit those to memory if you want to talk smoothly about the last couple of days.
Okay, foundation laid. Those 4 irregulars: went, saw, had, did. Non-negotiable. All right, so we've nailed down the simple past verbs, especially those key irregulars, but just answering, how was your weekend? By like immediately listing verbs, I went, I saw, I had, it can still feel a bit abrupt.
Yeah.
Choppy.
Yeah, absolutely choppy. It's like you're just throwing raw data points at someone instead of telling a story.
Right.
So the next layer, the next bit of strategy, is about synthesis. It's about starting your answer with a general descriptive word, an adjective that acts like a headline for your weekend.
Okay, a headline. So before we even get into the went and saw, why is starting with that single adjective, that summary word, so important for the conversation?
Well, because it manages the listener's expectations right away. It sets the scene, the tone.
Okay.
If you start by saying your weekend was busy, the listener immediately knows you're probably going to list chores or lots of activities. If you say it was relaxing, they expect, calmer details. It gives them the context before you launch into the narrative.
That makes sense. And our analysis pulled out 3 really powerful adjectives that work almost like conversational shortcuts. They paint a picture instantly.
They really do. The first one, maybe the one many of us aspire to, is relaxing.
Definitely.
You use this when your weekend was pretty low-key, maybe reading, long walks, no alarms. You'd say something like, oh, it was a really relaxing weekend. I finally got to sleep in and just read my book. It sounds, satisfying.
It does. Then the second one is kind of the opposite. Busy.
Right. This is for those high-activity weekends. You were tackling chores, running errands, maybe you had back-to-back social things.
Like,
Yeah.
true. I had a really busy weekend, finally cleaned out the garage, and then we hosted a dinner party.
Yeah.
You can almost feel the energy.
Exactly. And then my personal favorite, maybe because it hints at a story, is eventful.
Ooh, intriguing.
Yeah. Use this one when the weekend wasn't just busy or relaxing, but something actually happened, something interesting, maybe unexpected, maybe even a little bit dramatic. It's basically an invitation for them to ask, oh, what happened?
Like that classic example from the source. Actually, my weekend was quite eventful. My car broke down.
Oh, no.
But then the tow truck driver turned out to be incredibly helpful, and we ended up having this great chat for an hour. See? That's a hook.
That's a fantastic hook. And the real power here is that you follow that headline adjective, relaxing, busy, eventful, with just 1 or maybe 2 specific details. Use those simple past verbs we talked about. I finally finished that book I was reading, or I went for a hike up in the mountains. That single concrete detail gives your conversation partner an immediate, really natural follow-up question.
Right. They can ask about the book, or the hike, or the nice tow truck driver.
Exactly. And that is how you keep the dialogue moving, keep it alive and active, instead of letting it fizzle out after it was good.
Okay, so now we have the headline adjective, and we have the specific simple past details. But what if your weekend was, a bit more complicated? A series of things happened, and you want to explain how Saturday flowed into Sunday.
Yeah, that happens.
If you just list the actions using the simple past, it can sound really messy, can't it? Like, I went shopping, I saw a movie, I ate dinner, I felt tired. It just lacks any kind of structure or flow.
Totally disjointed. It forces the listener to do the work of piecing your timeline together. We need to add the connective tissue.
Connective tissue, I like that.
That's the role sequencing words. These little words, they structure time for the listener. They make sure the other person can follow the order of events easily without getting lost or confused.
They're like little signposts. Okay, listen up. This happened first, and then this happened. We're talking specifically about words like first, then, after that, and finally. They take that choppy list of actions and turn it into a smooth, coherent story.
Let's try walking through an example, because hearing it makes the difference clear. Imagine trying to explain this sequence without those words. It'd be a jumble.
Right. Okay, but listen to how much smoother this sounds with those sequencing words. Okay, so on Saturday, first I went to the gym pretty early. After that, I met up with a friend for lunch down by the river. Then later that evening, we actually went to a concert. Finally, on Sunday, I pretty much just relaxed at home and watched some TV.
See the rhythm? It just flows so much better. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture of communication, these small sequencing words, they do more than just mark time. They actually signal that you've organized your thoughts. You're presenting a clear, structured narrative. And that signals, higher conversational competence. It lists your answer from just a list of facts to a miniature, well-told story.
From data dump to narrative. I like it. Okay, that brings us neatly to the final piece of the puzzle, and maybe the most crucial step for truly effective communication. All these tools we've discussed, the simple past, those headline adjectives, the sequencing words, they're fantastic for crafting your part of the conversation, your monologue, if you will.
Right, your turn.
But real conversation is never just a monologue, is it? It's got to be a dynamic exchange, a two-way street.
Absolutely critical. Fluency isn't about delivering a 5-minute speech without pausing. It's about engagement. It's about the back and forth. So after you've given your concise, well-structured little weekend story, you absolutely must hand the conversational baton back.
Pass it over. And the beauty of this step is just how simple it is. The essential phrase, the core handoff, is really just 3 or 4 words.
So easy.
What about you? Or maybe, how about you? It's simple, it's direct, and it instantly shows you're interested in their weekend too.
Couldn't be simpler. You can, if you want, add a little extra layer, maybe ask something specific like, did you do anything fun? Or how was yours? But that core transfer phrase, how about you? That's the most important bit for the social connection.
Yeah.
It clearly signals, okay, my turn's done, now I'm ready to listen.
And then, while the other person is sharing their story, and this is where I think a lot of people drop the ball, don't just stand there mentally rehearsing what you're going to say next.
Right. Resist the urge.
Active listening means using those small, engaged comments, little sounds or phrases that show you're actually present, you're tracking with them.
Yeah, we call them back channels sometimes. Just tiny verbal cues. If they mention something that sounds tiring, you might chip in with, oh, wow, that sounds exhausting. Or, oh, rewarding though, maybe. Or if they mention a party, oh, big party, that sounds like fun. Or how was it? These little interjections, they reinforce the connection. They encourage the other person to keep going. They show you're genuinely listening.
So it completes the circle, really. You start strong with a good headline, you give clear details using the simple past and maybe sequencing words, and then you immediately pass it back with a genuine question like, how about you? And listen actively.
That's the formula.
That's how you transform that potentially awkward Monday morning exchange from just, empty pleasantries into an actual genuine dialogue.
So we've pretty much covered the whole strategy, haven't we? Everything you need to really own that Monday morning conversation. Maybe let's do a quick recap, like a mental checklist of the key things to practice this week.
Good idea. Okay, first things first. Really commit to using the simple past tense and absolutely prioritize mastering those 4 super common irregular verbs. Went, saw, had, and did. They're the essential building blocks.
Gotta have those. Second, make it a habit to start your answer with one of those descriptive headline adjectives, relaxing, busy, or eventful. Give the listener that immediate context before you dive into the details.
Right. Third, if you're telling a story with multiple steps, use those sequencing words first. Then, after that, finally to structure it clearly. Make it easy for your listener to follow along with the timeline of your weekend.
Keeps it clean.
And fourth, and maybe most importantly, always pass the conversation back. Use that simple phrase, how about you? And then Actually engage, listen actively while they share their story. Use those little back channel comments.
Nail those 4 points, and you're basically set. You're ready, not just for the Friday night, what are you up to, but also the Monday morning, how did it go? You're definitely ready to move up a level in your conversational game.
And that actually leads us to a final thought, something for you to maybe mull over this week. The really effective communicators, they're often masters of compression.
Compression.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, think about it. The ability to take a whole, complex, detailed 48 hours of life, everything you did, thought, felt, and then concisely summarize it into just a single adjective and maybe 2 or 3 key bullet points using clear past tense language. That's not just a language trick. It's actually a pretty high-level analytical skill.
Filtering and prioritizing.
Exactly. So maybe look for chances in your everyday life to practice that mental compression. Take any of it, even a small one. Assign it one of those headline adjectives, relaxing, busy, or eventful. And then try using the simple past to describe just its 2 main highlights.
Like a mini summary exercise.
Precisely. That kind of mental discipline, that practice of condensing experience, that's the real key, I think, to building more sophisticated narratives and becoming a more compelling communicator overall.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you've been following our work on communication, you know we like to really get into the deep end, the philosophical conclusion.
Yeah, the final chapters.
Exactly. So today we're moving way beyond the basic how-to for apologies. We're heading into the really complex stuff, the counterintuitive corners of, well, human repair.
Right. We're sort of deconstructing the whole language of apology at maybe a higher level. For you, the listener, who's ready for those gray areas, the exceptions, the paradoxes, our mission really is to tackle those questions that, they really push against cultural norms. Like, are there times you just shouldn't apologize, even if pressured?
Ooh, that's a big one.
Or what does an apology even mean when we're talking about stuff that happened generations ago?
Absolutely. So we're breaking down communication strategy today into 4, let's say, advanced areas. First, this idea of the strategic non-apology.
Sounds intriguing.
Then the compulsive apology, apologizing too much and how to fix that with linguistic replacement. Third, historical apologies. The big picture, societal level stuff.
Very complex.
And finally, maybe the toughest one, the unapology. Finding peace when you know an apology is just never coming.
That's a huge scope. Let's start with that first one, that provocative idea. When is apologizing actually the wrong move?
Yeah, this feels tricky, doesn't it? Because we're basically conditioned to think apologizing always helps. It always diffuses tension.
It usually does. That's the default wisdom.
So unpacking this strategic non-apology, it feels risky.
It is. Definitely high risk, but potentially high reward communication. It's really for those situations where you're being pushed maybe to regret something, a decision, an action that you genuinely believe was right or necessary.
Or ethical.
Okay, like a leader making a really tough call.
Exactly. A necessary layoff, maybe a controversial policy change, taking a difficult moral stand, something like that.
Right. And if that leader gives a full traditional, I'm sorry for the decision, well, that undermines everything, doesn't it? It compromises their integrity, invalidates the reason for the decision. Precisely. You'd be apologizing for doing what you thought was right. The action itself has to stand, but the impact on people is real.
Ah, okay.
So the key skill here, the sort of master level communication thing, is to validate the feeling without apologizing for the action. You have to linguistically separate the emotional fallout from the rightness of the choice.
But how do you do that without it sounding like you are apologizing or like you're opening the door to argue about the decision itself? How do you manage that empathy?
That's the absolute pivot point. You have to load the empathy up front, but follow it immediately with conviction.
Yeah.
You use specific language. You show regret for the distress caused,
Okay.
but not for the decision itself.
So give us the actual words. What does that sound like? The nugget.
You focus on acknowledging the human side. So you might say something like, I acknowledge that this decision was difficult for many of you, and I sincerely regret the distress or anxiety or difficulty it has caused within the team.
Okay, so that hits the pain point directly.
Yes. And then the pivot. You immediately follow with that unwavering conviction. However, it was a necessary step, for the long-term health of the project. I stand by the decision to move forward. It's sophisticated because it says, I see your pain, but also my judgment, my authority, it remains intact.
That is a really fine line. Honestly, if you botch that, it could just sound cold or dismissive. What's the risk if you don't get that balance right?
Yeah, the main risk is coming across as purely defensive or just uncaring. That validation part has to feel sincere.
Right.
If people think you're just reading some corporate script to dodge responsibility, you'll erode trust way faster than if you just, I don't know, said nothing.
So the authenticity of that regret for the distress part is key. You have to genuinely show you see the impact.
Absolutely. You have to.
The insight then is that real authority isn't about never messing up, but about owning tough, even painful, necessary actions without being, well, fake about it.
Well put.
This whole discussion about maintaining authority, it actually leads us nicely to the flip side. What about when people apologize way too much?
Yes, let's shift to the compulsive apology.
Yeah.
This is where someone isn't apologizing for a real mistake, but kind of apologizing for just being there, for taking up space, linguistically or physically.
Oh, we definitely all know people like this. Or maybe are people like this sometimes, apologizing for asking a totally valid question in a meeting.
Exactly. Or, sorry, do you have a second? When they need your input on work. Or, sorry to bother you for something perfectly reasonable. It's almost like guilt is their default setting.
Yeah.
And psychologically, this usually comes from, fear of imposing on others or wanting to smooth everything over, maybe a deep-seated fear of being seen as a burden. It's like a shield.
But it backfires, right?
It does. It comes at a cost.
And that cost, that consequence, is that this constant little linguistic what-tick, it just subtly undermines your authority. If you're always saying sorry for existing, people maybe subconsciously start to wonder, why? Why are they apologizing?
Precisely. You're basically training people to see you as someone who needs permission just to speak or act.
So what's the advanced fix here? The sources talk about linguistic replacement.
Yes. It requires really auditing your own speech, paying close attention.
That sounds like hard work. How do you even start that internal audit? What are the usual suspects, the phrases to swap out?
Well, you first need to spot those low-stakes moments where an apology is just completely unnecessary, like saying, sorry, can I get your opinion on this? You're apologizing for doing your job.
Right.
So instead, you swap that apology for something direct, confident.
Okay, give us some of those replacements, the practical swaps.
So instead of the classic, sorry, can I ask a question? Maybe try, excuse me, I have a quick clarification.
Okay.
Instead of sorry to bother you, especially if someone looks busy, maybe, excuse me, do you have a moment to review this when you're free? It reclaims your space professionally.
It shifts the focus away from your supposed mistake and onto the actual task or need. I like the everyday example too, like accidentally bumping someone. Lots of people just blurt out, I'm sorry.
Which is fine, I'm sorry, is okay there. But maybe an even better linguistic replacement shifts the focus outward. Instead of focusing on your little blunder, which is already done, you check on them.
So like...
Oh, excuse me, are you all right? It shows care, connection, rather than just self-blame.
That makes sense.
And let's be honest, we've all probably apologized to a chair we bumped into.
Definitely.
That's when you know you might need that linguistic replacement audit.
Okay, that is the sign.
Yeah.
Really is an exercise in self-awareness.
Oh.
Okay, let's shift gears now, dramatically. From personal habits to, well, nations, cultures, grappling with the past, the historical apology.
Yeah, this is arguably the most politically loaded, philosophically tangled form of apology. It's incredibly complex. A lot of the debate centers on accountability across generations.
Right. Can a leader today genuinely apologize for something their country did, say, 200 years ago?
It's a fair question. It obviously can't be about individual guilt, because people today aren't personally guilty of things that happened long before they were born.
So philosophically then, what's the point? What's the core purpose of a historical apology if it's not about guilt?
It's generally understood not as individual guilt, but about collective remembrance and symbolic redress. The main aim is to formally acknowledge the lingering legacy of a past injustice.
Okay.
It's like a statement saying, we as the current nation recognize that our present reality was partly built on this terrible thing, and its negative effects are still felt today.
So the focus is less on the act itself way back when and more on the ongoing harm now, which I guess raises the huge practical debate. What does redress actually mean here? Is just saying sorry enough? Or does it need, tangible actions, compensation, policy changes?
And that is the absolute crux of the geopolitical difficulty. For some groups, a symbolic apology is a vital step, acknowledging harm, maybe changing how history is taught, recognizing victims. That might be enough to start reconciliation.
But for others?
For others, a symbolic apology without concrete action, maybe financial reparations, land rights, institutional reforms, can feel really empty, cheap, even performative, like just words.
So the most meaningful historical apologies, the ones that really aim for change, they have to include that commitment to the future, don't they? It can't just be about looking back.
Precisely. The language must look forward. The real nugget of a powerful, future-focused historical apology often includes something like this. Our nation officially acknowledges the profound and lasting harm caused by this historical injustice. We can't change the past, obviously, but we commit today to specific, measurable actions.
Measurable actions.
That will help build a more just and equitable future for everyone still affected by this legacy.
It's that policy commitment, that follow-through that really tests the sincerity. It moves the apology from just being about history to being about the present and future.
Yeah.
Okay. This actually leads us perfectly into our last and maybe the most personally challenging concept, the ultimate internal frontier, the unapology.
The unapology. It's a radical act, really. An act of self-reliance. It happens when you finally realize that, waiting for an apology from someone who is unwilling or maybe unable or just fundamentally unrepentant, it's pointless.
It's futile.
It is. So the unapology is that necessary process of healing without getting that external validation, that closure from the other person.
And here's the real kicker, right? If you wait for the person who hurt you to say sorry, you're basically giving them control over your peace of mind.
Exactly. Your healing becomes conditional. It's held hostage by whether they decide to say, 5 words, I'm sorry I was wrong.
Waiting for that. It's like being in a prison where they hold the key.
That's a great way to put it. So the ultimate act of emotional freedom here is to consciously, actively release the expectation that they will ever give you that apology.
That sounds liberating, but psychologically, how tough is that? It doesn't sound like just passive acceptance. It sounds like real emotional work.
Oh, it's deeply demanding, very active. It often involves what some sources call mourning the apology you never got.
Mourning it.
Yeah. You have to grieve the fact that the person involved isn't who you hoped they were. They aren't capable, maybe, of the remorse or the repair you needed. And that requires, radical self-reliance.
How do you even phrase that kind of huge internal shift? What's the language of that self-reliance, that sort of personal declaration of independence?
It's really a language of agency, of taking back the pen, reclaiming authorship of your own story. The goal is to consciously choose to look ahead and basically say to yourself, I am writing my own ending to this story. The big, profound realization is that your healing is internal. It's yours. It's a sovereign process. And it absolutely does not depend on their words, their feelings, their remorse, or anything they do or don't do.
That recognition that you hold the keys to your own peace, it makes the apology itself almost irrelevant in a way.
It transcends the need for it, exactly. It's perhaps the highest form of personal reconciliation, recognizing that sometimes the repair work is entirely up to you.
Wow. Okay, so let's recap for everyone listening. We've covered 4 pretty high-level strategies today. The strategic non-apology, using empathy but maintaining authority.
Right.
Then linguistic replacement, auditing your speech, swapping out those unnecessary sorries to reclaim confidence.
Getting rid of the verbal tics.
Then historical redress, understanding those big collective apologies, are really about commitment to the future.
Symbolic but needing substance.
And finally, the unapology, that ultimate act of choosing self-reliance and internal peace over waiting for external validation that might never arrive.
These are definitely the skills that take you beyond just basic conflict resolution. It's more like conflict wisdom, maybe.
I like that. Conflict wisdom.
Yeah, they give you the strategy, the nuance to handle repair, authority, all these complex situations with more confidence, whether it's a tough work decision, a personal speaking habit, or just the messy reality of unresolved hurts.
This has been a really insightful journey, quite complex. So if the greatest freedom, as we discussed, is choosing to write your own ending, here's that final provocative thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
Yep.
What is one expectation of an apology you might be holding on to right now? Something you could perhaps release today to reclaim just a little bit more of your own peace?
That's a powerful question to sit with.
Think about it and maybe start applying some of these advanced insights, see how they shift the way you communicate and maybe even the way you seek closure for yourself.